The Hymns of Zarathustra, being a translation of the Gathas together with introduction and commentary by Jacques Duchense Guillemin, translated from the French by Mrs. M. Henning. Epilogue. And now we may view at some distance what we have shown of Zarathustra and his work. It is difficult entirely to resist the temptation of a comparison with other great minds, with other great religious movements. There can be no question here of contemplating such a vast subject, which it is hoped to branch in another volume while following the destinies of the Zoroastrian religion. 1. We will, however, in all simplicity, offer a few reflections in this connection. Whatever the future of this doctrine was to be, and even it was only to survive disfigured, a fate which no doctrine escapes, Zarathustra appears to have met with success in his lifetime. No doubt he suffered among men, but he found a princely protector. Zarathustra was a prophet who succeeded. There is nothing to allow one to suppose that he may have known the ignominious end of a Mani thrown into prison, a Jesus treated as a vulgar agitator and abandoned by his followers. Perhaps it was this very abasement which his greatness lacked. The renewal which he announced did not come about. Things were left as they were. There is nothing here of the great Christian paradox which sees in the apparent failure of death and despair. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? The very proof of triumph. But perhaps this absurd attitude, which is the characteristic of the whole Gnostic movement, is, as Simone Petrament supposes, dormant in Zarathustra's endeavor. Zarathustra makes a distinction which he formulates expressly between the world of the body and that of the spirit. His religion, his cult, are pervaded with spirituality, but contrary. 1. Ormazd et anormand Paris presses universi terras. To Plato, he does not reject the body in the name of the soul. He gives it a place in the present duties as well as in the future rewards. He suggests no renunciation. He preaches the maintenance of life. He does not, however, like Buddha, preach respect for all life. His doctrine is aggressive, virile. The cause of the good exacts the crushing of the evil. Ahura Mazda is the god of justice. Twice weight of this justice has seemed too heavy to his prophet. Have pity on me, he cries, and to his faithful he allows a glimpse of the possible derogation of the law. I will recall only your merits, not your faults, he promises 2 of them. Generally, however, he has faith in the triumph of the Mazda, and of all eternal forces of life, a dualist perhaps, but an optimist. At the time of the Arab conquest of Iranian people adopted the law of the conquerors of Islam. But a group of noblemen who had taken refuge in the mountains clung to the national religion as to the symbol of independence. Under the persecution and exile, these resistors and their descendants were going to manifest extraordinary qualities in the present day. In India, where they number about 100,000, they constitute by far the most active, enlightened, and enterprising minority. They're engineers, officials, makers, directors of spinning mills, and of railway companies. They distinguish themselves by their philanthropy, by the number of their charities, their hospitals, orphanages, and schools. To what is the excellence due? Partly, no doubt, to a severe selection, which operated in their ranks in the course of the 134 years, during which they suffered one test after another, and which led them from their country of origin to the present habitat, the region of Bombay. Their case has been compared, 1, to the Puritans of England, who in the 17th century, fleeing their religious persecution, went to America, where their descendants to this day still occupy the highest positions. Undoubtedly, the conditions under which these displacements happened, the numerous deaths, and no doubt also the discouragement of some, only allowed the fittest and the most resolute to survive. Such truly heroes must have been these men and women who founded the Parsi community of India. But this process of natural selection does not perhaps sufficiently explain the extraordinary fortune which was to be theirs. For nearly 10 centuries, in fact, the community lived in a small way by agriculture until the English bringing commerce to India made it possible for the Parsis to display their capabilities. But then, the Parsis must have maintained these capabilities until that time. How and why this latent survival? It seems to me, with an explanation can be looked for their religion. With some reflections on this subject, we will once more, and in conclusion, salute certain permanent aspects of the Zoroastrian doctrine. It appears to me that the religion of asceticism and renunciation, like, for example, Buddhism, would have led the Parsis to their present state. Their faith did not turn them from the world and from action. No vows of chastity and poverty with the Parsees. Each individual has the duty to found a home and to work the earth, agriculture having for centuries succeeded cattle raising, an essential resource of economy. His religion and all but tells him, as Luke Felipe told his citizens, grow rich, even the obligation of marrying among themselves, which itself may have been deplorable effects, has been useful to Parsees, who observed it with extreme strictness. Notably, by E. Huntington of Yale, and an important work entitled Mainsprings of Civilization, 1945. That's a footnote there. Their case, it was applied to a true elite. It could but benefit a community previously subjected to a severe selection to keep its lineage pure. This precept also must have strengthened in exile the feeling of social solidarity already prompted by the religious dogma of the choice by the duty of helping the good and fighting the wicked. At every moment of his existence, the Parsee can feel himself engaged with his co-religious and under the guarantee of the just and good God, and the vast enterprise and range of which extends the limits of the universe, but which embraces also the humblest labors, without which could not be maintained and multiplied, and the harmony with the celestial powers, but with both feet on the ground. This equilibrium is the fundamental characteristic of Zoroaster's doctrine, and has perhaps made the strength of his disciples. As regards us with Westerners, it is difficult to see that Zoroaster had what we like most. We have knowledge, curiosity, power, but the science, our power, are inhuman. We know our wealth, but lack the courage to choose. We feel the want of rule, and the mismeans of integrating man and the universe with each other. The kind of innocence with which we should most envy Zoroaster and Nietzsche did not err, and this is the conceived human values as the cosmic values that he could bring down to man's level, in the words of Paul Valery. The great deeds which are in the heavens.